hyperlocal grocery and fresh food delivery startup, Grofers has evolved from being a B2B player to a B2C market leader in the hyperlocal segment. Founded by Saurabh Kumar and Albinder Dhindsa, Grofers allows users to order products ranging from grocery to pet supplies. The company delivers orders within 90 minutes and claims to fulfill about 35,000 orders daily. In 2015 alone, Grofers raised a total of 165 million from the 3 rounds of funding the company closed. How did you start Grofers?
So actually, prior to Grofers, I was at Zomato, and when I met Saurabh, this is almost 3 years back, we were thinking of doing something in the local space for businesses that were not restaurants. And so we had a couple of ideas on what we wanted to do, and we started with the grocery space itself. We wanted to do the same thing for the grocery merchants that that Zomato was doing for the restaurant merchants. And then we started and realized that this is sort of, as a market segment, it was the grocery segment itself is very underserved. So they don't really need a business like Zomato to promote them and get them more business. But they basically needed somebody to help them deliver, to improve their efficiency of the square footage for which they were paying rental, and a lot of them wanted to get into delivery. So we started a B2B delivery service.
Okay, it was B2B initially.
It was initially B2B, where the merchant would basically have a wallet and they would have an online panel, and they would place an order that, I want something delivered from my shop to Shant Lok Phase 1. And then that message would get relayed to a delivery guy who was out on the field, and he would go pick up, deliver it to the customer.
Enabling hyperlocal logistics.
Right, and we did that for almost a year and a half. Like, that's all that we were doing. We worked with almost 1,000 merchants across Delhi, and we had just started expanding to Bombay at that point. While we were doing all this, we sort of realized that there was a huge sort of opportunity to bring these merchants online, right? That there was a lot of e-commerce guys that were bringing the bigger merchants online, the bigger sellers, distributors, but sort of, the bread and butter merchants sort of in India are all these smaller shops, and a lot of guys who are selling everything from cosmetics, toys, and they're very, very small micro merchants. And we figured that, we should build a platform to bring these guys online as well, because they were really afraid of e-commerce. They didn't really understand it. So we saw an opportunity to actually create a marketplace using these merchants. And that's when we launched the Grofers app with a lot of the local merchants. Now we have almost 12,000 active sellers on the platform across 26 cities. And they sell everything from, grocery to baby care, cosmetics, sports goods, phones. And basically that's what we are now building, that, a marketplace for all these sellers.
How was the initial reception like? Selling grocery online was a new thing, like?
So interestingly, like, our initial set of users were coming to us for, buying bakery products. Okay. They wanted to get a cake delivered, or they wanted bread and all that stuff. And that was a really good value add, because we were okay if the customer wanted bakery, and then they would eventually start buying other items as well. Till about March of this year, the growth in sort of online grocery was still relatively modest for us. What really sort of changed the equation is, at some point of time, we made the decision that, look, we are offering about 600 products on the app, right? Which is roughly what the number of products that a local store would have, right? So how do we actually go from 600 to actually offering a wider assortment to the user? And we started giving them, a wider assortment, which we would pick from 2 multiple stores. But that really clicked with the user, because now, as a user, I buy some things from my local store, which is maybe in my building or very close to my house, like the local kirana. Then I go to like a mid-sized store, like maybe a Spencer's or something like that. And then, like, end of the month, I will go to something like a Big Bazaar, right? So what we were able to do by giving them a wider assortment is take the trip of the local store away and take the medium trip away. And that really sort of created a new value proposition for the user. And then, that was so much more convenient for them that people were willing to talk about it. They were willing to recommend the service to others. And we focused a lot on, like, sort of giving people the right experience, the right service, right quality of products, and finding the right merchants that enabled us to do all of this. And I think that's where it sort of grew out from. And I think now we are at the point where we see that this adoption is actually very easy now, right? People just it's for a lot of people, this is the default way to buy grocery. They would not think of going into a store anymore, right? Which is basically what we wanted to accomplish.
What are the product offerings of Grofers today? Like it offers everything from bakery to toys.
Yeah, so it depends on the city also. Like for example, in Bangalore, we also have a partnership with Crosswords, which is a huge bookstore. So we also deliver books over there, right? But most of the sort of the biggest categories for us are grocery, cosmetics is really big for us. Electronics appliances, chargers, sort of these kind of extension cords, LED bulbs, we sell a lot of them, right? And then bakery and baby care. These are sort of the top 5 categories for us. Right now, like we do on a regular weekday, we'll do somewhere around 35,000 orders every day across the country. And weekends we cross 40,000, 45,000 sometimes. And obviously 80% of our orders are in grocery space. The others are cosmetics and electronics and baby care and all that stuff. We have very high repeat usage. Customers that start repeating with us will buy at least once a week from Grofers. And customers that are more than 3 months old on the platform, they actually buy twice a week from us. So very high frequency, very high repeatability, and a lot of it is driven by the fact that it's just a service that gives people a lot of convenience, saves them a lot of hassle of going to the market, parking the car, going to one shop, going to another shop, all that takes.
Do you see the transition happening, like Grofers like becoming a full-grown e-commerce company?
I think
something like Flipkart or Snapdeal.
I think we will not be like the e-commerce companies, because the way our supply chain is structured is very different, right? Everything in our supply chain is meant to focus on sort of, how are you going to get the products that the consumers need quicker to them at a very good speed, right? We will always be in the consumable space. Whereas most of the e-commerce guys, they sell, they have either warehouses or they're sellers which are basically selling durables. So as a consumer, you are happy to wait 2 days to get a cell phone or to get a sofa or air conditioner, because you're getting it from a warehouse, you're probably getting it slightly cheaper over there, and that's their value proposition, that because they are shortening the supply chain over there, they're able to build that. We are in the consumable space where basically these are buys that consumers don't really need to explore items. They know what they want, they will check out, and they will check out quickly, and that's the supply chain we want to build.
But will Grofers enable something like clothes or fashion or something going forward?
So I don't think fashion, so basically the difference for us is whenever we are looking at a category, we look at, will the user want to like explore this product to buy it, or will they just automatically buy it, right? So if it's an explore category, we try to stay away from it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
so fashion is one of those, right? Like where you want to go through the dress, you want to sort of see that, oh, what do these shoes look like, and you want to do a lot more research before you buy one, right? Whereas most of the products we sell are products where users will come, add it to cart and check out, right? So everything, even cosmetics, right? Like women are buying the same thing. They're going to buy the iconic kajal like once every 3 months. It's an automatic buy. You don't need to sort of, explore it every single time, right?
So going back, like how was the first round of funding? Like how did it take place, and
so
how did you approach the investors, and what was the business model you proposed?
So actually, investors approached us, in this case like Sequoia Capital. They asked us if we were looking for funding, and obviously, I mean, nobody should say no to that question. And actually at that time we were a B2B delivery service, what I was talking about. So they were really sort of interested in, like, we are building this logistics layer and enabling a lot of merchants to basically be able to deliver.
Logistics only for the grocery shops, or you were doing?
No, that was across everything. So we used to deliver for grocery.
That was hyper-local thing.
Yeah. I mean, we used to deliver for pharma, we used to deliver for grocery, we used to deliver for stationery shops, print shops. We had all kinds of, even like fashion outlets, we used to deliver for them as well.
Okay.
So it was basically a delivery service. Anybody could use it, right? And they were very interested in that. And thankfully, like, they decided to put a small check. They invested 2.5 crores in us at the time.
That was the first round.
That was the first round, and that basically helped us to sort of invest more in the tech side of things, invest in building a consumer-facing app, and basically helped us to sort of accelerate the pace of growth a lot more.
So what are the initial steps, like how did you get the merchants on board and how did you get the delivery boys?
So actually our focus was making it really easy for merchants to come on board. So in the early days when we used to sign up merchants, we used to do everything for them, right? So our guy would go sign them up, do all the paperwork, make sure that our people were going there too.
From the beginning you were like getting in from the merchants, you were never an inventory led model.
Yeah, so from the beginning we were getting very deeply in with the merchants, right?
The marketplace model.
Yeah, and we used to like take their inventory, like our guys used to go there, take their inventory, because I mean we needed them a lot more at that point, right? We needed to show people that look, we have sellers on the platform. And slowly like, you know, then words keep spreading among the merchant community as well that they want to work with Grofers. So now we field almost 100 requests a day from merchants from different cities that want to sign up with us across different categories. So it keeps getting easier over time. Initially we used to make it very sort of easy for them that look, you don't need to do anything new, right? All you need to do is keep doing what you're doing, just check out the order when it comes from Grofers, but we will take care of everything else, right? So when an order would come, like our call center would actually call the merchant, confirm that they have the order and confirm that they have every single item in the order, and if there was any confusion they would like basically arbitrate between them and the user. Now it's becoming much more of a self-serve model where the merchant can now come to a website, sign up, put in their bank details and be ready to go live. Like we basically do a QC check, but they can go live in 2 hours and they don't even have to talk to anybody.
How do you select a merchant, like, because everyone, the end product is same, the end product is dal, pickle, rice or everything, so how does the selection goes?
So typically before the merchant starts working with us, the criteria we have is mainly around what kind of inventory do they have. Are they running sort of a legitimate business in terms of, you know, they have a POS, they're giving correct receipts and all that stuff. If the merchant cannot give printed receipts, we don't sign them up. So even if you go to a website and you see the merchant sign up process, it asks you, can you give printed receipts? If you can't go ahead, right? So before the merchant starts working, these are the hygiene checks. We look at, you know, if a merchant only has 200 items in a grocery, it doesn't really make sense for us to bring them on board, because we also tell them honestly that look, nobody's going to check out, like your assortment is too small, right? But once they start working with us, then we actually monitor their performance per order. So you will see ratings are also coming from the users on different merchants based on, you know, whether a product was missing from the order, or the order was delayed, or something was damaged, something was expired. I mean, and we keep rating the merchant. So if the merchant's rating actually falls below 4, we take them off the platform.
How do you solve the supply chain issues? Like you have your own delivery guys.
Right.
So what are the hyper-local logistics stuff you're solving? Like how do you solve it?
So, I mean, you have to look at supply chain sort of more end-to-end, and the biggest difference you're making in the supply chain is actually sort of making it more technologically savvy, right? So for example, we convince most of the grocery merchants that work with us to start keeping the inventory that our systems tell them that this is the top selling items in your neighborhood, right? So you should stock up on those. And then we also have a POS which basically works across tablet and smartphone and a PC, which we train them on so that their inventory management is a lot more accurate. At the same time, we are now helping them connect back all the way to manufacturers as well, right? So HUL, let's say a big brand, maybe a Pepsi, right? They launch a certain product, right? For them to get to know what the impact, how that product is doing in the open market, it's actually a very long lead time, because, you know, it goes to the distributor, then it goes to the retailer sells, and then, you know, the sales report come all the way back, right? Whereas in our case, we can actually provide them that feedback instantly. We actually want to assist. See, the thing is, the end retailer needs to exist in this ecosystem because the product need for the consumer is immediate, right? So these are models that will not work with like a warehouse model, that you have everything in a warehouse outside the town and then you ship to the consumer once they order. The consumer usually needs these things like in a 2-hour window or a 3-hour window, right? So you need to keep it close to the consumer. The best way to do it is use the existing infrastructure, which is retailers, right? And they're happy to work with us. A lot of retailers have back-based dark rooms that they work with us. Some of them obviously still serve us through the front door. But the retailer always has to stay in the system. What you want to be smarter about is that the manufacturer should know that, look, this is the amount of sales that Grofers is able to bring to the retailers, right? And use that knowledge of all the information we are generating online to help the manufacturer actually channel their products better. To give an example, like we've helped recently Coke launch Sprite Zero.
Sure.
So it was like
Also our
pan-India.
iPhone 6 delivering.
iPhone 6s was also sort of delivered through us, right? So these capabilities did not exist for these retailers before.
So whole ecosystem of like quick service things like which you need immediately. So you're also thinking of getting medicines on board?
So we will, but there is some government regulation around it that is still unclear, right? I think it is a very strong use case that needs to be online, and a lot of consumers do call us and ask us for that.
But you will enable pharmaceuticals on your...
Yeah, we should, right? I mean, even when we were a delivery service, we used to see that most of the chemist shops, they deliver, right? So if the chemist shops deliver, then you should have an online version of that too, right? Because those are the guys we will bring online. We are not going to sort of build our own warehouse for the pharmacy, right? So I think it's a market that needs to come online, and hopefully once we have more clarity on the government and what the regulation around this particular segment is, we will also start doing this.
So you specialize in the 90-minute delivery segment. How much time does it take for the offline retailer to pack the things, and how much time does it take for the delivery boy?
So actually it's 2/3 and actually goes into packing, and 1/3 is in delivery. So fulfillment time, which is to us like the picking and the packing time, is the majority of the thing. So if you look at anywhere between an hour and an hour to 10 minutes is actually spent on
Sourcing and packaging.
Sourcing and packaging the items, right?
Okay.
And delivery is very quick because usually it's within a 3-4 kilometer radius, so delivery doesn't really take that long. And most of our delays also come in because of sourcing.
So how much loss does Grofer incur on a single delivery?
So I mean, the best case scenario for like a first time delivery will probably incur like a 60 to 80 rupee loss. We have close to 50% retention, right? So 50% of our consumers come back and buy from us.
What about the quality part? So you are not the end producer of the goods. So how do you ensure quality?
In the fruits and vegetable segment, we actually do quality checks across the entire supply chain.
You have audits.
Yeah. So and that goes all the way back to where the produce is actually coming from. And we have a produce buying platform for merchants as well. So merchants that are on the Grofers platform can actually buy produce through the Grofers platform. So that comes from sellers of the mass producers of sellers, Azadpur, Hapur, Bulandshahr, for example.
So
Just
you have
in
control over the initial manufacturing.
Yes. So the sellers that are on the Grofers platform, they buy produce from our approved sellers only.
Okay.
Right. So that entire supply chain is controlled by us.
Only on app.
Yeah.
So do you also plan to test the app only mode?
So I mean, we never even built a website, right? So we've never had that intent. It's also like understanding what our use cases. Our use case is actually so frequent, right? And a lot of people like, in our office also people say, I was in a cab and I just like placed my order for the day, right? So people basically want that mobility in these use cases because they are so frequent. You're not sitting down and doing this purchase once every 2 months, right? Which is where I would think, these are not big purchases. These are not purchase decisions. These are automatic purchases. You have to buy grocery. You are going to buy fruits and vegetables, right? Your household will buy fruits and vegetables every 4th day, right?
So you say you will stay on app only,
Yeah, we're only app
mode
only.
forever.
We don't even have web developers, so I don't think we can do anything about it.
What do you have to say about competition like Flipkart, Snapdeal? Snapdeal is about PepperTap and everything. Like so, Ola and Uber, they are jumping into the grocery space. It is like a lucrative market coming forward.
Well, so there are two things, right? One is grocery is the biggest market that is out there. So nobody is going to let it go without a fight.
Even small-time entrepreneurs who pass out of college, like what is the biggest, easiest way is to have a grocery delivering business.
Yeah.
So how do you see the small players and big players coming out?
See, the thing is that there will be a lot of competition in this space because it is so big, right? I mean, if you just notionally, it is 5-6 times bigger than the entire space that currently like the durables companies like Snapdeal and Flipkart play inside, right? So obviously, everybody will try to take a share of the market, primarily because A, it's a very big market, and B, because the repeat use case is actually very high. Right, because you are going to buy vegetables every second, third day, right? So that's the thing, right? Like we are doing very well on the cosmetics business because people come to buy grocery. If you're opening the Grofers app twice a week and you're buying grocery, if you need cosmetics, you're probably going to be very comfortable buying it that from us as well.
Do you think the known names like Flipkart and Snapdeal and Ola and Uber will have a upper edge about Grofers because they are already known in the market?
See, I think they will definitely have brand recognition, but this is the supply chain and the market that we are playing in is actually very differentiated from the markets that they are in, right? So at the end of the day, they will either have to build the same capabilities that we are investing in, or they will not be able to give the same level of consumer service that we are able to provide, right? And I mean, we don't intend to get into the AC selling or the fridge selling business. That's too far from us.
Going forward, like 2 years on, do you see consolidation happening in this space?
I think consolidation will happen in the next 6 months.
In this next 6 months?
See, that's a natural cycle, right? We can't expect that 10 players in every space will survive, right? The top 2-3 players survive. Grocery is a bigger space, so maybe top 5 will survive, right? But consolidation has to happen, right? There is no way around it.
What do you see of this market, grocery market in India in the next 6 months by suppose March 2016?
So I think
how this market will shape up?
I think you will find that adoption of e-commerce as a platform for selling grocery is going to get a lot higher. We recently, saw multiple cases of brands launching products only on e-commerce, right? I mean, Dunkin launched their cake only on Grofers. Sprite Zero came out only on Grofers. So a lot of these use cases will happen because we are understanding that people are actually have a natural affinity now to go to these sites for buying the regular. It is not. I can argue that going to a mall and buying shoes can still be exciting for some people because like it's an activity. You go out with your family. I don't think anybody's ever excited about going out and buying groceries, right? So the consumer has taken very easily to buying groceries online. And I think that is what you will see like scale up at a much more rapid pace over the next 6 months.
How many players do you think will be the top leaders in this market?
I think we will be the top leaders, hopefully. So I think a lot of the guys will survive, right? So I think most of the players will be there in the market because the market is so deep that you will always get that opportunity to even a number 3 player in this market has the opportunity to
good share of the.
Yeah, I mean they can also be like a $1 billion company very, very easily, right? So I think just because of that the market itself is so big, you will see a lot of the players survive, whereas in other marketplaces they probably would not have, right? But I think you will see a lot more rationality in terms of people will not go aggressively after discounting to get consumers now. You will see a lot more focus going towards building supply chain, building sort of long-term businesses out of this, right? Because you wanted to get to the point where you want to know whether the customers will even buy grocery online. We have our answer. They will, right? So now you want to sort of play it wisely. You don't want to sort of say that I will go out and shoot myself in the foot and not actually build a business. So we will all focus on building our businesses.
What's your plan about Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities?
So we are in most of the Tier 2 cities now, and they actually do really, really well for us. The plan for us is actually we need to sort of figure out how our supply chain can actually help get more assortment to Tier 2 cities, right? The bigger challenge over there is not demand generation, it is the fact that local supply of a lot of products is actually not available, right? So a lot of things that you and I take for granted living in Delhi NCR, if you go to like a Tier 2 city, you will not get a lot of those things, but there is demand, right? So what we are actually working a lot with manufacturers and with distributors and retailers is actually figuring out, okay, how can we actually rejig the model for Tier 2 cities so that a lot of these items, maybe in limited quantities, start becoming available in those places, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure like a Tier 2 customer would still appreciate getting something a day later if they actually are able to get it at all, because otherwise they will not be able to buy it in their city at all.
How much time Grofers will be operationally profitable?
So I think I have no visibility on that. I think for the next couple of years we don't plan to be.
Like in the next 5 years or something?
I think 5 years is probably a good time to start thinking about profitability and trying to get there, right? I mean, for most of the sales that we make, we are operationally like breaking even on them. So that's not an issue for us, right?
But when do you start making actual money?
I think when we need to sort of look for an exit for our investors. Right?
Okay, and what about the expansion plans going forward? Like in next 6 months or 1 year, how do you wish to expand and how do you wish to capture the whole market?
So I think we've done a lot of the geographic expansion already. Now we are trying to do more category and product expansion, giving consumers a wider assortment of products on the platform.
You told about medicines and everything.
Yeah, so like all these things are in the pipeline that we should do, and I think that is basically going to be the next sort of wave of expansion that we will do, is across categories, getting more products on the consumers, not as much as geographic anymore.
So as an entrepreneur, what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs?
So I think the biggest thing is, you should get started. It doesn't really matter what you get started with. The plunge is a lot more important, and be open to sort of, modifying your way of thinking and learning and adapting along the way. The worst thing you can do as a young entrepreneur is to think that you have the right answer. I can tell you right now that you don't, and I don't think anybody does. Right.
So as an entrepreneur, are you also investing in some young startups?
I don't have the money.
So what about you? Recently also acquired Downrush and Spoonjoy.
Right.
So what are the new acquisitions you have in?
So I mean, they are primarily team acquisitions, right? So we wanted. There were teams that were looking for a good place where they could sort of, work towards building something, because, what they were trying to build was not really working out. So we liked the teams. We wanted them to work with us. So they basically came and joined. Most of the, for example, Spoonjoy team, the tech team, half of it is actually working on our retail products that we actually distribute to retailers, and half the team is actually working on the consumer side of the product.
So how do you see Grofers shaping up as a business in next 5 years, and what is your ultimate vision?
So look, we want to be the platform where as a consumer you are going to buy everything that you consider is a consumable, right? Whether it is grocery, whether it is cosmetics, or whether it's stationery item, you should be able to find the widest assortment on Grofers, and you should be able to buy it and get it very quickly. And that is our motto, that is all that we want to do. Right, so you want to give the consumers a lot of options to buy things, and things that they're looking for, right? And you want to get it to them quicker. Along the way, if we are able to help the retailers, if we are able to build a leaner supply chain, a better supply chain, I think that's incidental rather than on purpose.
And what is Albinder's vision?
I think that is pretty much it. My life is now sort of very aligned with Grofers, so need to make sure that works for anything that I have envisioned to work out. Right.
Thanks for speaking.
Pleasure. Thank you.